Hello, and welcome back to the Elemental I Ching. Today I'm sitting with the fire, the popping, crackling fire of desire, lightness, rapture. Jinki 30, hexagram 30. Fire is a profound element to be with. Like all the elements, it's one of the primary elements of life. It's the heat and the illumination. It's a destruction and purification of nature that paves the way for new life to grow. It's the ancient storyteller. You know, the flickering firelight and the beat of a drum, or how our ancestors entrained mind, body, spirit, breath, heart rate, and training into the brainwave state of the trance, to the rhythms of life, to gather around that fire, to share stories, to be warm, in the depth of winter. We've been in, you may have seen some of my pictures, here at Portland, we've been covered in snow. So I came out here to our dome, to Indralaya, to the house where spirits dwell, to light the fire and tell the stories to myself, offer the prayers of the cedar branches into this fire. Fire is a profound element because it takes in anything. It consumes life. It consumes our prayers, our offerings, and it can consume our base desires and our lead and transmute it into the gold that it's to become. Desire is such a powerful and interesting shadow to play with and wants to be played with. But so much of our life is the resistance to our desires and the getting lost in the poisons of the mind of what we think we want, and we get consumed by it, and we're become, I know in my own life where I become slave to my desires. They're driving the ship, those little parts, those little gremlins in my soul that really want to eat sugar, that really want to relax. In a way that's not actually relaxing, but hiding. The desires that call out for the carnal pleasures of life. They're not bad, those pleasures, right? That longing of the heart is one of the most powerful and profound gifts of the human spirit. But the game to be played is, are you a victim to those desires? Are you run by those desires? Are you letting yourself unconsciously be led only by those desires? In the I Ching, this is called the clinging fire. It's in the eternal, this powerful dance that this element goes through. Nothing is constant in its life except that which it clings to, the fuel of the fire. That's what the fire, it's clinging to this wood. And it can cling to the offerings, to the sacred offerings that we give of our passionate intent, of our prayers, of our songs and our stories. Bring to life those beautiful stories. Bring to light. Lightness is the gift of this Jinki. The illuminated clarity that comes from that passion of life. Life is meant to be lived. We are beings of fire. We are the illuminated spark of existence that's been, disseminated from the cosmos to be here now, to be alive, to thrive, to follow our heart's passionate delight, and to play with that longing, that soul's longing for love, for satiation, for resolution, for warmth, for touch, for play, for expansion, for clarity, for purpose. That soul's longing is one of its greatest tools. One of its most amazing abilities to ride the flames of desire into its own purification This is the ring of purification, that our desires are the ability to actually consume life and become the light. So lightness and the Gene Keys, I love this reminder to hold our desires lightly. You know, you can't extinguish that hunger of life just by forcing it down. It only finds another way to be addicted to to grasping onto life. It will cling to whatever we feed to it. So if we tried to feed forced obligatory discipline, that may work for a while. And it's healthy to go through detoxes of our own desires, to take 30 days away from all the sugar and wheat and dairy and these things to find out what our body really feels like, to feel the lightness that we'll probably feel when we're not feeding our body with those lower desires, only consuming that. But what are we really feeding? Because it's not just about the things that we put in our body, but what are we trying to feed when we eat, or when we have sex, or when we long for the stage to be that brilliant light on stage with millions of people listening to your music, or to, whatever your desire, your longing, your heart's longing for the beloved, your heart's longing for family and children, for power, whatever your desires are, to listen to that dancing flame of passion. But what is it clinging to? If it's clinging to our fear, if it's clinging to those lower, that woundedness, that conditioning, that we think we will finally be fed once we have that external thing, that's the trap. That's the poison of desire that keeps us always in the future. Because once we have that chocolate cake, we're going to want the whipped cream. And once we have the whipped cream, we're going to want the coffee. And once we have the coffee, we're going to go home and have sex. And once we have the sex, we're going to want to go out on stage and find whatever it is that keeps feeding that soul bigger and bigger and more. The demon of more, and especially here in America, knowing that consumerist gremlin of more, and the longing to thrive with life, to be enriched by the glorious passions of life, is not wrong or bad in my life. And it's not my philosophy, but it's where is my resistance to my own desires? And where is my resistance to being patient and playing with that desire and asking the question of, what am I trying to feed? I discover that when I eat sugar, my body gets this high off of burning that sugar really quickly. And really, the energy gets low and gets pent up. The desire is to burn that energy. The desire is to be in that action. And that action for me is most deeply fulfilled when I'm in my passions, when I'm in my music, when I'm in my session work with the Gene Keys or with Dreamwork, when I'm doing videos, when I'm singing, when I'm playing with my beloved and dancing in the kitchen. That's actually what feeds my soul. And I get addicted to external stimuli that give me that quick, that instant gratification fix of what is it am I looking for. So it entrains my body to think that that's the thing I want, when really it's the burning itself. It's the knowing I'm alive. It's the feeling, the fires of life ignited. And unfortunately, all my life I've suffered with different types of addictions, with food and with people and with activities and things that I've used to distract myself from what I'm really feeling, the purification that I'm really feeling. So lightness is all about taking things lightly. Great. I want that cookie. Great. No bad, no wrong. Maybe I eat it, maybe I don't. It's really not about the cookie. What am I feeding this fire of my desires? Can I honor and offer my body as a vessel for the divine to experience itself in rapturous truth? Can I align my body, speech, mind, heart into the passionate fire, my passionate intent of creativity, to live in the fullness of what that desire is truly longing for? I invite you to keep asking that question. What am I really hungry for? What am I really desiring? What is the feeling? I go on diets without salt, and it's a good practice because you'd be surprised how powerful salt is to satiate you. And when we don't eat salt, it actually salt collects the water in our body. It closes things down. So when you open yourself, opening to let spirit be the taste that we're going to taste. Slow down on spices and external stimuli for a little while, for a few days. Just experiment with listening to the sensations of life, tasting the dynamic sensations of life. Holding your desires lightly, not punishing ourselves for the longing of the heart. And, just like this beautiful stove, we have to be mindful with fire. Because fire, when it gets out of control, can really cause a lot of damage, in our bodies, in our world. And we see that greed, that desire, that wildfire of way out of control proportions of consumerist instant gratification needs and greeds that are completely out of alignment with life, right? It's paired with that water of devotion. We have to balance these two things. But the fire of desire itself is not bad, not wrong. Let it guide you. Let the shadow teach you how to breathe. Let the shadow teach you how to breathe life, passions, truth into this present moment. Have the chocolate cake, but then practice not eating the chocolate cake and still experiencing rapture. Opening our vessels to experiencing that rapturous, passionate truth through our art, through our connection with each other, through that illuminated clarity, that the fire, just sitting with fire, is so healing. To be with this flame, to watch her dance, all of her sounds and songs, all of her colors and glistening, stages of her growth, of her phoenix light. If you really want to conquer your addictions to whether they're to, medicines and plants and drugs, or if they're to food, or if it's to your longings of addictive cycles and relationships, whatever those desires are, if you feel like they're out of balance, I invite us to sit with fire more, to offer those prayers, those stories, what we want to let go, but also what we want to illuminate in our life. Let the clarity of the fire bring us back home into the passionate fire of our dantian, of our belly, that fire of who we really are. And rapture, right? The city. The gold of who we are will never burn, will never melt. So take rapture in the layers as they burn away. They are layers that no longer serve this true divine light who is here to play. All of our challenges, our traumas, our stories, our dramas, they're all just layers to this shell, this seed of who we are. And like the wildfires that move through the forests of the world, cracking open these new seeds, scarring them so that they may breathe, ensuring that they will have a life to lead by cutting down the old so that they have space to be. The fire purifies our desire. It sharpens that staff into the truest path. It gives us an opportunity to laugh, to play, to explore, to long for that love, that maiden in the castle sky, to long for that companion who will hold you strong, to long for that love, that passionate embrace, to long for that delicious cake in your face, to long for that satisfaction that only God can bring. So laugh and take light, this divine offering of our life, of our art, of our ability to be, of this opportunity to breathe. Be illuminated by your own desires tonight, and let them know that this path is all right. We can take our time as we let the old habits burn and know whatever is shed no longer serves. Because the gold of who we are will never burn, will never melt. that indestructible core is here for all time. So take rapture in those layers as they burn in the night. Those embers of who we once were become stars dancing. Take rapture with this opportunity to breathe life in again and wake up today for a new beginning. Thank you for joining me with the fire, Grandfather Fire, the illuminating desire. And may your week, your life be blessed with magic and miracles. May we learn to follow those little clues of the stories of our longing, because they're illuminating, those will-o-wisps, those dancing fairies. It's not about catching that fairy. It's about letting those desires guide us on that path. Many blessings.